Hello, everybody. If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer, and that must mean it's time for another episode of Warhammer Weekly. Joining me, as always, is my co-host Tom. What's up, brother? How you doing?
Hello, friends.
The man crusher to my Mega Gargant, always here with me, ready to chuck some rocks. Tonight, we are going to be engaging in one of the silliest things we've ever done on this show, which is to rewrite a book. I picked the lowest hanging fruit, the Sons of Behemat book, because it's only like 7 pages for all the rules, so easy there. So we're going to bust into that, but of course first, the news.
Man, it's been kind of a full week. So
Yeah, everybody's got to keep hitting like to make sure we always go, by the way, in multiples of 13, just so we stay in the Skaven thing to celebrate the pre-order. So hit all those like buttons. Let's get to 26, then 39. Just multiples of 13. Okay, keep going.
That checks out. So let's do the rumor engine first. Our fern between two ferns. What do you think this is, Vince?
A hat. It's a hat.
You really think so?
Yeah, this is a fern. I agree.
And the
what's
feather,
that, Tom?
You're talking about the feather on the left.
I'm talking about the feather on the left.
Yeah,
that's a feather, my friend. See,
yeah,
they wanted you to look at the fern and go like Catachin or Seraphon and not notice that feather. And this is just like the fanciest hat ever.
It's a hat. It's a hat not only with a feather but also a fern. Might you say?
Yes, correct. That's right.
So
feather,
is this
hat.
New models for Living City who wear ferns for hats?
I wish. It'd be my greatest dream ever. That'd be amazing. I mean, okay, in my wildest dreams, when they released this is a bit of a non sequitur, but it'll come back around, I promise. So Tom, how they released the Horus Heresy, you're familiar with this? You heard about this?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So all the Marines that are in that box, the base box, are they're just sort of generic Marines.
They're all stock Marines. Yeah.
Yeah, you can make them any Legion, right?
Yep.
But then what they also did is they released these upgrade boxes, these little plastic sprue kits that are like, here's the Imperial Fist heads and stuff like that.
See, you were going more recent. I was going to go way deep with mine. I was going to say, do you remember at the launch of AOS where they had upgrade packs for Stormcast where you could upgrade their shields and shoulder pads.
Yeah, you can make it like Knights on their
storm
stuff.
Yeah, based on their storm host.
Mm-hmm.
Man, how amazing! Because that's where you're going with this. I already know
it is. Yeah,
how amazing if they had that for like Living Cities and Tempest Eye and entire head swaps.
Like but the point is we know they're redesigning the Mortal Cities range, so I hope that actually comes as part of it because I just believe when they released those Stormcast things at the time, the game wasn't big enough to support that. There's one Stormcast book, right?
Right. Not 17.
It was like you, me, and 12 other people playing, right? I mean, it just wasn't enough of a market there, right? But I think now it'd be a completely different story, and I think for stuff like a human upgrade kit that would make you Living Cities or Tempest Eye or stuff like that, it'd be amazing. So, anyways, it's probably some silly Warcry model. That's what I'm going to vote. Either that or it's like a super boring 40k Catachin thing. It's like some dude hiding behind a fern with a bird in it or something. I don't know.
I mean, it looks very like it could be a goblin hat.
Sure. Goblins wear funny hats. That is true.
They do. I mean, it could be the fern, the Return of the Force goblin.
You dream too big now, Tom. You know that's not going to happen.
I know. I know that, but I don't know that.
What else we got?
So a lot is going on pre-order this week.
Yeah.
Well,
first talk about the contrast thing because that's my next news.
Those aren't. I know it's your next news item, but that's not really news. They're just changing the names on the entire paint line.
That's not what's happening.
They say that's not what's happening.
So there are a bunch of new contrast paints and washes. That's what it is. Here I have pictures of it.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what it is.
Okay.
All right. It's I am actually quite excited for this. I think the new range of colors are really good. I think they're going to introduce a bunch of single pigment colors, which is really nice. That means they'll be much more intense and bright when you want bright colored things, which is where the old paints kind of fell down. So, anyways, it's good. Okay, now Tom, now that we got your little picture, now we got the picture of the contrast people out of the way, go right ahead.
Okay, it's just renamed.
Pre-order
That's
stuff.
Fine, with different pigments. Okay, pre-order stuff. Cool. Yeah, so GHB, Sylvaneth, Skaven, they really couldn't fit enough in. We have Vanguard boxes for like all the books that have released in the last I don't know how long coming. We have single heroes in all the dual boxes recently. I mean, aggressive. That's what we're gonna identify here.
Yeah.
Like, is this the biggest AOS launch weekend since like first edition AOS?
Well, certainly since the pandemic. We can say that with complete assurity. Yeah, I mean, like, let's go through it. So we've got the 3 books, GHB and 2 Army books, all pre-ordering on Saturday. Okay. We're not going to talk about... They did some rules previews of stuff. We're not really going to talk about it today. There's been leaks and stuff, whatever. We'll dive into all of those once we have the full picture. And the next 3 weeks of shows will be those 3 books.
Right,
just so everybody here...
We'll hit GHB first, and then we'll do one of the either Sylvaneth and or Skaven. Okay. Because that'll be me and you probably, and then Tyler to do Sylvaneth with you.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that's your next 3 weeks of Warhammer Weekly there. Tuck in. Those are going to be some intense shows.
Next week will be all 3 of us, I believe. Me, Vince, and Tyler, potentially. Yeah.
That's the hope. To break into the GHB, yeah.
Because, boy, oh boy, is that GHB meaty. It looks like we have...
Would you say it's like a taco, Tom? Is it now meteor?
Our tacos are now meteor. Yes. Indeed. Yeah, I mean, this could be the biggest non-core rules release ever in the GHB, just as how this new GHB is going to upend the game. I'm excited. I'm so excited.
Sure. You just can't hide it. So those will be the next 3 weeks. And then in addition, as you mentioned, so there's also Vanguard boxes for Doc, which is 10 witches, 5 snaky snake ladies, and 5 Doomfire warlocks. We're going to move these Doomfire warlocks, Tom, one way or another.
Like 10 of them laying around here.
Every single box that they ever do that has Doc in it is going to have 5 Doomfire warlocks. We got to move some product here, okay? Can't get rid of these things any other way.
I mean, you know what they need to do is in cities, they need to make Dark Riders good.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. That'll move them kits. So then we've got the Skaven box, which is 3 Storm Fiends, the Warp Lightning Cannon. Obviously, the Warp Lightning Cannon could also be built as a Plague Claw. Clan Rats, and then the Grey Seer on foot. Again, it's always time for 20 more Clan Rats. When you buy them in min 20, like, why not? So
I just stumbled upon 60 I have in my house now.
Sure.
Well, I take that back. I think I have 80. To be clear, I think I have 60 from the new boxes, and then I think I had 20 laying around. So like, it sounds like I have a Skaven army.
If you find a Clan Rat in your house, there's at least 20 more somewhere. Yep. That's how that works.
It's an infestation.
Yeah, absolutely. And then of course the Night Haunt. Vanguard, which is like 20 Chain Rasps, 10 Grimghast Reapers, 3 Spirit Hosts, and the Knight of Shrouds on foot.
Yeah, and those could be Blade Guys too.
Oh yeah, right on. So 3 good Vanguards. I assume they'll all be priced at the standard like 100, 110, whatever they are now, around that place.
Yep.
And then there's also like the Warscroll cards, the dice, and then in addition to all of that, yes, as you mentioned, we're now getting the most recent slate of single heroes that had been in the dual boxes are all coming out, like the IDK one, the Fire Slayer one, which is the Flame Keeper, yep, and the Thrall Master, the Mortis Scriptor, which who cares, because he's terrible, and the and the High Gladiatrix, which is obviously amazing. So I'm actually super glad with how quick they're really, at least the Doc and Nighthawk ones are coming out pretty fast on the heels of the box. Still not as fast as I would like. I would prefer it if it was like 2 weeks after the box. You could just buy the individual hero, but still better.
Did we get clarification that we're going to have the Warscroll cards this week?
Yeah, it's in the article.
Okay, I must have missed that. Fantastic, because
I mean, there's 80 things in that article that are going on pre-order. I should announce that this is also the weekend for the... I mean, this isn't like something we particularly might care about necessarily, but it's also the 40K. Their GHB sort of equivalent, their next like Warzone or whatever, is also happening.
Oh my gosh.
This weekend. So it's just like... just stuff everywhere. Just throwing stuff. Did like a ship get unstuck from the Suez Canal or something 2 weeks ago? Like, man, it's a heck of a week. So there we go.
And unfortunately, there's going to be a glut of Scriptor Mortises on the market now.
Still a cool model, but I mean, yeah, he's not good.
He's fine.
He's fine. It's fine.
The model's fine. They're not the rules. I'm not going to even pretend there.
There's like a bunch of really good heroes in Night Hunt, and that guy's not clearing the bar. He wouldn't be my 10th pick, let alone my top 6. So there you go.
No, seriously, I'm trying to fit Karen Wraiths in now with the new Horde meta.
I mean, hey,
because you know what I need.
Stop that.
You know what I need? Measuring 2 inches from a 32 millimeter base with rerollable hits and wounds. That's what I need.
I'm sure. Yeah, absolutely. Nobody needs it. So at any rate, a lot of stuff this weekend. Big weekend for sure. So yeah, good stuff. Like I said, look for the next 3 weeks of shows to be all of those books in order. We will deep dive on all of them. Obviously, there may be members of this particular show that are extremely hyped about some of those books.
I mean, you are very excited.
I am super excited.
I am very excited to have a new painting commission.
Sure.
I have all the Sylvaneth that were made. So if you're looking for any, they're here in my house for this commission. And I'm going to be painting trees for the next couple months. That's for sure.
Sure. Yes, well as obviously also the new Sylvaneth kits come out. Because, as previously mentioned, we do in fact live in the worst of all possible worlds, where Sylvaneth, a beautiful new line that's basically cut from whole cloth in 2016 or something, gets 4 additional kits or whatever it boils down to, 4 Warscrolls 3 kits, however you want to think of it, I don't know. Yep. And Skaven with the 2 oldest models in the entire range of AOS. Not just in Skaven. I mean the 2 oldest models in the game.
That have rules.
Older by a good deal than I would be willing to bet many of our viewers. There's
a likelihood that those models are older than many of you watching.
Yeah. I mean, yes.
96?
The oldest is 92.
92.
And 92, right. 93, and then 93. So basically they're either are or about to celebrate their 30th anniversary. Or have their 30th birthday, however you want to think of it.
Oh, amazing. Amazing. Happy birthday, Acolytes.
Yeah. Indeed. So anyways, yeah, there we go. But a lot of stuff. What else do we got?
Yes.
Is there anything else? I think, or it might be all the news.
We covered a bunch of stuff. And then obviously rules previews, a bunch of stuff dropped. A bunch of stuff with, we'll cover all that in the next couple of weeks. We're excited. Everybody's excited. There's going to be a ton of videos out from content producers in the next week, starting on Saturday. And so it's going to be a hot time.
Yep. Okay. So, look forward to all of that. It's going to be a jam-packed 3 weeks. I will tell you right now, GHB review next week will be in the middle of the day, like noon Eastern. UK friendly time, Europe friendly time. It will be the
Lunch
middle of
break
the day.
friendly time.
Yeah, lunch break time. That's when it will be happening. So there you go. Look for it then. Okay. With that, let's turn to some pick of the week. Tom, what would you like to share with everybody?
I mentioned kind of in passing the content producers. I know that a bunch of folks are going to have videos coming up. 2 Plus Tough, for example, and a number of other individuals. So come check them out. Man Reads book should be out this Saturday as well.
Yep.
Lots of stuff that's coming. So take it out and check it out.
There you go. And so I've linked some of those down below. As well, my pick of the week is for something that's near and dear to my heart. Speaking of old stuff, not as old as those Skaven models, but old. That is the game Mordheim. Our good buddy and friend of the show, Squidmar, Emil, just released a new video about why Mordheim is the best game ever. A video I've made very, 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 very long ago in the deep, deep history of this channel. I also made a video on that same topic. And Emil...
We agree.
Reached out to a bunch of... Yeah, we agree. Mordheim is fantastic, an amazing game. I love it to death. I recorded some stuff for him, as did other content creators. He also interviewed one of the creators of the game. Real good guy. So just super cool. Go check it out. It's linked below. So not that Squidmar probably needs my help to boost his signal, but I love the video and I love the game. So dip your waters or dip your toes in the sweet waters of nostalgia for a legitimately great game. Okay. Yes. So, all right. With that, let's turn to some hobby time. Tom, you kind of mentioned it already, but what's on your desk, man? What have you been working on? Is it all trees all the way down for you right now?
Oh my God, it's so many trees. Like I made a mistake. I agreed to this, and he shipped me like just all the trees. And so I finished my last commission earlier today, getting ready to ship that out tomorrow. And this one popped up, and so getting ready to start on that. I put together my my incarnate.
Okay.
Got that one all based and primed.
Are you using the real model?
Yeah, I am. Okay. So I had a really neat idea with how I wanted to like visualize it. And so that's why I actually wanted to use the real model. So on my boatman that I did for my Night Hunt army, like I extended like the swirling energy onto the base out of an energy.
Yeah, sure.
Like out of an energy pool. And I did something similar with the Liquitex, the swirl out of the base, out of the dirt. And so like I extended the swirl into like a much larger pattern than just what the actual creature is. And so it ended up coming out nice. I'm looking forward to painting that. I don't know that I'm ever going to use it, but it was a fun project for me to work on. I was at ACO this last weekend, and that went really well. Went 3-2, had 2 really close losses. One in round 3
against the same. Apparently, the person, the Warhammer Weekly Destroyer, he's got to beat Tyler round 5, and then he can just clean the clock of this entire show.
So I played. So you're talking about Anthony Trentinelli. Yes. Yeah, Trentinelli was just a wonderful player. Played his Skaven in round 5. Narrowly lost that game. He had 3 models on the table, but apparently that's what matters at the end of the game is who has more models.
There you go.
And I played. I lost to Jeremy Vasari in team captain for Team USA in round 3. So just had a bunch of great games all weekend. It was a wonderful event. Martin Orlando did an excellent job pulling things together, and so. Yeah, and I ended up taking home a little bit of hardware for painting. So yeah, it went well.
Very nice.
Good.
Very nice. Well, congratulations. It sounds like a fun time. I'm sorry I missed out, but at the same time, there's no way I was ever going to get to that, so that was all right. Not because I don't want to go, but because just the summer months are absolutely jam-packed, insane for me. Yep. For myself, my hobby time. I finished up my fabulous Pride Marine here for Pride Month. There'll be a video coming out. all about non-metallic pink and stuff like that, doing non-metallic and interesting colors. So this is cool. This is part of Zambi's Decays over on Twitch. Zambi's has a project called Fabulous Marines, which is all about, sort of Pride Marines. And then we auction these off, and the money goes to the Trevor Project. So it's like an eBay auction for charity. So super cool. You can look for that coming soon. And then I'm also working on another accidental Soulblight Gravelords model, because they just keep happening. So this is a vampire lord with wingy wings.
You have so many of those models
of Saint Celestine. Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying of the army. Like, what is your points up to now?
I don't know. I mean, I'm probably at 1,000 points, something around there.
Outlandish.
Yes, Gen S it is. So the accidental army continues. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm just gonna keep doing it. Long as these figs keep showing up in the house, I'm gonna keep painting them. So we'll see what happens. At some point in the future, at some point they'll do some kind of box or something that'll be like a Vanguard box, and it'll be like an obvious buy, and I'll just pick that up and then just finish the army. Right? That'll be how it'll.
That was the battle. That was the Soul White Battle Force box. You know that, right?
It's too much. It's too much. I don't want that. What I'm saying is, it has to be something like the size of a Vanguard, right? That's the right amount. Because I don't want the Battle Force is too much. That I don't like it when that kind of stuff drops on my plate.
Only like 4 or 5 units.
Yeah, it's too much.
It's 1,000 points. I have one under my bed if you want one.
I appreciate it. I'm good. Thank you, though. It's very nice of you. So yeah, some cool, fun projects there. Smaller things before I start on a really, really, really big project. That's going to take me a long time. So,
is it for Nova, or can you talk about it? Can you not?
Oh no, I can talk about it. Yeah, I just don't like to talk about things before I start them, because then you get the dopamine hit of doing hard work by saying you're doing it, and that de-incentivizes you from doing it. But at any rate, I'm going to work on my next big robot. That's what it boils down to.
Excellent.
So, there you go. At any rate, yeah. So fun times lay ahead. Well, Tom, look at that record time. We've gotten through all this preamble. Are you now ready to engage in this little adventure we call rewriting a book?
Always.
All right. So, I will take the blame for this, for us doing this.
Vince wanted to do this, and I said, okay.
Sure. I mentioned it offhand. Like 5 people said they wanted me to do it. And so I was like, yep, okay, that's all I needed. People were about it, so we're going to rewrite Sons of Behemat, folks. A couple people did say you should rewrite Slaanesh. I hear that. The problem with rewriting any other book, especially a book as off-kilter as Slaanesh, is I would need to like strip it to the studs and start over. Yeah. And I'd have to rewrite almost every war scroll.
Yeah.
And it's just that would be a way bigger project, right? Like I could do it in a sort of slapdash fashion, but I want to take this kind of seriously.
Yeah. Well, in Slaanesh, like it takes more than just like there are fundamental challenges there that run even deeper than Sons. And Sons only has like 5 war scrolls.
Yeah.
Or 4. Yeah.
4, yes. Yeah. I mean, you could count like all the mercenaries, I guess, as one extra, but sure.
Yeah.
Right. At any rate, I'm not going to touch the mercs that just assume that happens. I'm not even getting into all that. We're just going to talk about the book as the book, right? I don't care what they're doing in other books. So let's start this off here. Why are we doing this? Why are we rewriting this book? Well, because it's fun. That's number one. Number one thing. It's fun, and it's funny to do. And fun is okay sometimes, folks. That's the bottom line. Let's have some fun with this. As well, I think the Sons of Behemat book has largely proven kind of a not winner. And I don't mean that by its tournament rankings or anything like that.
Sure.
I mean by the way people have received it. the idea of an army of giants is one of the coolest things you could imagine, in my estimation. And yet, no, like, the way the book played was generally not fun if you were piloting it. And the way the book played was often terrible to play against. They ran Slipshot when they first came out over everybody by being a giant DPS check who just stands there and holds objectives. And once people unlocked the tech and the damage enablement of 3.0 became real, then they just started getting stomped left and right by the armies that could do that. Meanwhile, a lot of people down at the bottom who couldn't present massive amounts of hammer damage, right? Which is one of the reasons they're down at the bottom of the current meta, just still struggled against them and had a completely unfun game. That's not great. Okay.
The question, can you kill 2 giants a turn?
Right.
Like in your turn 2?
Yep.
That's the question.
Right. So, I wanted to take a crack at redesigning this book. Now, I'm aware that I'm probably too late. This book is probably already rewritten. Right? Like, if it's coming out sometime next year, it's probably already rewritten now because they work like a year and a half ahead. Right?
Yeah.
So, that's too bad, but too bad, so sad. I don't
You
care.
never know. It could be in testing.
Sure. Maybe so. Maybe we'll get lucky. I'm not doing it because I hope to influence them. Right?
Sure.
I'm doing it because I want to show the kinds of things that I think make an army book interesting or good. Especially for this book, which is like the most, in my opinion, it should be the most Super Timmy book in the meta. And that's very much where I live. I mean, I even wore my shirt today for it. I wore my Attack of the 50-Foot Woman shirt, so I'm ready to go. I'm on brand for fun giant action. Ultimately, one of my problems with the book is that it has too many rules that do too little, and it presents a huge ludonarrative dissonance. Like, these giants are supposed to be these catastrophes that run around and smash things and aren't afraid of anything. And they're not that. They're not that at all. Their damage is, like, okay, often.
Gate crashers can be pretty good.
Sure, the Gatebreaker can do decent damage, but yeah. The other two are basically worthless in combat. And even the Gatebreaker, if put under sufficient penalty, will still fall apart, right?
Yeah, it's amazing how little that does against Nighthaunt with a Cruciator at their back.
Obviously, I mean, Sons are just terrible against Nighthaunt. Yes, that has got to be the new Nighthaunt book has got to be Sons' worst match, out of a host of bad matches.
Yeah.
You overpay for all the rend everywhere. You get damage sapped out of you. And by the way,
your base is how big? How many models can I fit? How many units can I charge?
Rounds, so you can charge me with everything and give every penalty. I think I tackle some of that, but not all of that. I mean, we want them to still have some harder or softer counters.
Yeah.
Now, despite my actual inclinations, I'm going to stay within the general design frame that they laid out. Sure. Like, in their world, giants are these big, dumb monsters. They're not cool like most other giants outside of the silly fairy tale giants of England. Hey, people in England, look, I love you guys. You're great. You do realize that nobody else likes the way you consider giants. Your silly fee-fi-fo-fum beanstalk crap can take a hike. Everybody else in the world has cool giants. Okay? Like, whether it be frost giants or D&D giants or like the really scary like horror giants coming out of the east, like the Philippines and several other Southeast Asian countries, there are some really amazing conceptions of what giants are like. None of them are dumb fee-fi-fo-fum I get drunk giants. It's the worst concept. Think outside your comfort zone slightly. Okay, so that's just a general thing. But the sculpts are the sculpts, so we'll get to that in a second, right? And the goal is to create a more active play style and melee force, limited by the fact that they are walking monsters with a limited board presence and no chaff. That will always be their restriction, right? It's
right.
It's 4 units. That's what you got on the board, basically. Okay.
Yep.
Oh yeah, thank you, Chris, mentioning Attack on Titan giants. Sure, another like absolute horror show that's way more interesting. Yes, thank you. Okay, great. I mean, there's so many cool giants out there that aren't this. But anyways, assumptions, guiding principles. Tom, I want to know if you disagree with any of these. Here we go. Ready?
Yep. Hit it.
I'm going to mostly assume the same models are available. Mostly, i.e., I'd love to completely rewrite these things and assume I just like didn't have to care about the fact that the sculpts exist as the sculpts do, but they do. Right? There are simply the models that we have. I can't like write a giant that is just completely orthogonal and has completely different weapon kit outs and is expected to be doing something insane. Yeah. I want to create new options of additional playstyles or at least paths to victory. There are limitations here, but we can push. Because obviously it is just dudes. It's 4 units of guys, like 1 guy or 3 guys. So there's not a lot we can do. The models will all remain around 500 points. Like, I'm not actually going to actively point these things because it doesn't actually matter. You know, you're going to put some a little below 500, some a little above 500, so that you can't have too many of a certain type in an army. And that's it. But you've got 4 units. Regardless, you have 4 units. You're going to balance it so you can do 4 units. That's what this comes down to. And this will be a lower synergy army. We can't afford to make the models worth too much more than what's on their war scroll, because they're already so big and so powerful, theoretically. We can't also then have synergies ramping them up. They need to be very sort of solo kind of operators. Minor synergies, but nothing more. All right, how do you feel about my assumptions here?
No, I think they're good. Like, so one thing about the synergies, traditionally you do synergies because you need to, in order to make them worth more than the sum of their parts. Right. Because you worry about some of those parts being taken into other things for allying. Well, in general, you don't have that here.
Right.
And so so I just wanted to kind of put a pin on that like the lower synergy nature of it has to do with the very character of how these things are pointed and how large they are.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. Anything you feel like I missed?
Yeah.
Okay, what'd I miss?
It needs to be fun.
Oh, sure. No, it's a good one. I mean, yeah, I said it's fun on the last page, but you're right. That's like, absolutely good. That's a great assumption.
What we're doing is fun. But when I see giants, like, it needs to... The play style needs to feel like playing with monster trucks.
Sure.
And other big toys. Like, it needs to feel like big stompy, and they're just, so that, as you said, this should be the most Timmy of armies.
Yep.
That's what this should be doing, right? It's a race of, can I move my big toy and take off more of your little toys before you take off my big toy?
Yep. Agreed.
And that, like, to me, that has to be felt in the actual play of the game, of the army itself.
Okay. Cool.
All right. I count as 30 models, so I'm going to stand here.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely correct. Yeah, the incentive shouldn't be to stand still and not fight. You're giants. Yeah. Get out there. Get swinging. Right? Okay. Let's get right into it. Here we go, Tom. All right. We're going to start off with the rewritten allegiance abilities. Okay?
Yep.
All right. Just making my notes for timestamps. Cool. Conquerors. First of all, I'm changing the name Mightier Makes Rightier, or whatever that stupid name is, because it's dumb. It's a dumb name. You can call it something else besides Conquerors. I don't care. But this is my word. It's not going to be called Mightier Makes Rightier anymore. Stupid. And I'm very angry about it. Okay?
I mean, it's like, Noobs mentioned the whimsy of the army. Like, I like the whimsy of that name.
You can have some silliness going on. That emerges. But, like, when it's Might Makes Right on the ogres, I get it. Mightier Makes Rightier? What? Are they, like, does every giant have to be a complete moron? They're just giant humans. Why, when humans get big, would they get stupid? Cloud giants are brilliant. Storm giants are brilliant. Fire giants are industrious things. Frost giants from traditional like Norse mythology are schemers and brilliant. Like these things aren't dumb. Okay, sorry.
Their brains are bigger.
Yeah, sure. I mean, which doesn't necessarily translate to anything, but yes, because it's not about the size of the meat; it's about the number of neural pathways, and the various and sundry components that you have in there. At any rate, I would accept large and in charge. By the way, Brian, sure, absolutely.
Or takers,
also fine. We could call it anything.
But and I say that just simply because like that's a lot of what the lore is about, right? Like they're often like taking stuff and stuffing in bags and kicking objectives and all that other BS. And so there's this yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, well, some of that's going away, but yes.
I know.
Okay.
I understand that. Hence why the name is appropriate here.
Right. So this is sort of the most important thing I wanted to do. And here's how I decided to do this. Now, I think when they rewrite this, they're just going to do the wrong thing. Okay? They will get this wrong. And I know they will get this wrong because they got this wrong on Kragnos. And I think that he's a preview of what we're going to have.
You're saying the scaling, the value of the yeah.
Yep, they'll put the amount you count as on the wound chart, which I understand. It seems like the most logical thing to do. Okay?
Sure. Yeah.
But that's the smooth brain not considering secondary incentives version of this.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because that makes the incentive not to fight even worse.
Yeah.
Because knowing the more I get wounded, the less I count as means now I want to retreat from every fight. I want to avoid every fight. I'm never going to charge you if I don't have to, because why would I? Why would I risk taking wounds?
Right.
Right?
Right. Unless you know you're going to lift their unit.
Unless I know I can just lift you. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, fight only in the most minimal risk situations.
Yeah.
It's bad incentives. Okay? That's what that scaling down chart creates. If you want to see giants fight even less and stand even more, put their model objective counting on their wound chart. Okay? Which is what they will probably do, and it will be wrong, and I will say it's wrong when it happens.
Yep.
But here we are.
Agreed.
Mine is Sons of Behemat units count as double their base number. They're monsters, so they count as 5. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, they count as 10. If they successfully I'm not writing this all in, like, rules text, by the way. This would take an entire development pass of rules text. I'm writing this for ideas.
Yes.
If they successfully completed a charge that turn, they count as triple, so 15, if they destroyed an enemy unit in combat. Yeah. So, if you're not charging and not destroying units, you can easily be outnumbered on an objective, right? You're 5.
Right.
You're just 5. Right? So that very heavily incentivizes you to get in the mix.
Right.
To do work. What I also like about it is how it interplays with enemy chaff. Because a lot of times, because this army doesn't have chaff, right? And so incentive might be to chaff them to protect your good units, right? But now by throwing up chaff in front of them, you actually feed them and let them like pick up your chaff and immediately go to 15.
Right.
It would be it's not applying through any turn, it's in that turn. When you come to check objectives, Brian S., you would look at these 2 gates and say, did you complete either of these turn? Now obviously you're not charging an off turn, barring some very unusual situation. So the charging could only happen in your turn.
Well, and what
you
what
can destroy
that
units
says,
in your turn.
What that says is that in your off turn, it's easy to steal objectives from you.
Yeah, sure.
People
can retreat away from you.
Which is not surprising, right? Like, because that's like defending points on the battlefield, not a giant specialty.
Right.
But taking them is.
Right, yeah. Exactly. Like, people could retreat away from you and sap your ability to contest.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that can happen.
But even, like, in this framework, even in their turns, if they're standing there fighting you, you're down to 5 immediately.
Yeah, sure. Unless you lift their unit, yes.
Unless you lift their unit, sure. That's fair.
Right. Yeah. because you can obviously lift their unit in their turn. But like we've seen in the Nighthaunt book, where it's like very strong on its turn, but can have some bad punchback off turn, you know, and several other books, it makes it so the game feels this like
push
back and forth pull. So they're really good at taking objectives, right? Because you can bring like 2 giants in, you lift a unit or something, boom, right?
Yep.
Suddenly you've got 30 on an objective, you probably hold it, right? You're quite strong at taking. But holding, you're much weaker against, right? People can come in on you and swarm you or surround or just, you know, whatever. But by doing so, they're bringing other units into range for you to then go charge and fight and start counting as more. So we get this natural tempo to the game that the rule is encouraging. Like, this rule is the most important rule in the book because everything flows from this, right? Like, the more you're an active player, you know, participating in the back and forth play of the game, giving a good game, the stronger you are, rules wise. That's you want to see those incentives align.
Is you want to push people, you want people to feel incentivized to do the thing you want them to do. Right.
The worst armies are those that, like, where all the incentives are to not fight, to not engage, to just like do dumb crap. Okay. It's why I understand why, and there's, by the way, there is some section of psychographic profile of Johnny that loves just futzing with people the whole game and never actually playing.
Like, playing denial.
I saw one of our fun Legion of the First Prince players in here recently. And, you know, that's that play style. And that's fine. I'm not saying like that play style shouldn't exist. I get it why it does. It should be sequestered and whatever. It's fine as it exists.
And shot in the head.
But a lot of people don't really love it. Playing against it. It's frustrating. It's not Warhammer.
So here's the deal. What we're talking about is, for those that are familiar with Magic, it's like blue counterspell, right? The difference is this. In Magic, you're going to sit down and play maybe a 20-minute game of do nothing. In Warhammer, you're going to sit down for a 3-hour game of it.
Of do nothing. Of pointlessly roll dice.
Yeah, that's not acceptable.
Right.
And so that's why I think it's a problematic play style in general.
Yep. All right. Next up, Speaker of Behemat. You may choose a single Mega Gargant in your army that is not your general. This model gains the priest keyword. Okay. So Flaming Pole, like I said, yes, they often will want to get away from you. I'll just return to this real quick, but that's okay. Them running away from you, right, if they don't think they can kill you, is reasonable. People already have incentive to retreat their units if they don't think they can kill you. Like, if you aren't retreating from something you think you're going to die to, I don't know what you're doing.
Like, but not only that, it's in like the verisimilitude aligns. There's alignment.
Yes, correct.
There.
You're retreating from this terrible monster. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
And the game is incentivizing them to engage and attack the objectives.
Right.
So even if they're afraid of the monster, like the game itself, in order to win, the incentive is for them to engage the game because they won't win if they just run away.
Yes. And so, you know, there you go. Okay, so Speaker of Behemat, you can turn a Mega Gargant into a priest. I feel like this is just a needed thing. Priests are cool. I didn't create a priest prayer lore for this intentionally. I feel like the universal prayers, like you'll get a universal prayer.
They're basic.
Yeah, they're basic. They're just priests. Like, they don't need their own special prayer lore or prayer or whatever they're called. They've got the two. They'd have Bless and Smite and then the choice out of the universals. Fine.
Sure.
Great. Cool. Like, it's something. It opens up some other doors, right? It's interesting. It has you doing something in the hero phase. One of the most odd things about playing this army is that you do basically nothing in the hero phase. You know, you
could have an arcane tome.
You pick your battle tactic, like, and it's sort of, if you don't have an arcane tome, you pick your battle tactic, you do a heroic action, and then you go, and then you move, right? Like, there's just nothing going on. And I'm not looking for a Tzeentch-like hero phase here, or a Lumineth hero phase. I don't want that. That's bad in the other direction. But like, let's give them a little something.
Yeah.
Right? Let's let them do. Let's let them roll a die and have a thing happen. Wouldn't that be neat?
Yeah.
It's also fun because they're like not an army that is primed to take advantage of curse.
Right.
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 So they can do a little with curse softly. Like if they run babies, then curse can be a fun prayer because babies swing with 10 club attacks each, so you got 30 club attacks, which is like pretty decent going into a cursed unit. And there's no like non-bow there, which is a soft incentive over to babies given how good curse is.
Right.
Which is something else we want to see in the army, more of just like not all megas, please. Right? So this encourages a little bit more of a mixed force, and I have that kind of spread around as well.
Yeah. Soft incentives.
Soft incentives, right? Yeah, absolutely. Confidence in triumph. There's a really good story in the Sons book about how the Sons that explains how Night Hunt work. I don't know if you ever read this, Tom, but it's a cool story.
I haven't.
So like, how does your ethereal? Why can like in D&D, if you swing a weapon at a ghost, nothing happens unless that weapon is magical, right?
Indeed. Yep.
Okay. That's not the case in the Mortal Realms. All right.
Yeah, because this isn't like confidence or certitude.
It's
or
confidence.
Like...
Yes, exactly. Yes. Everybody's like Gladiator, the X-Men Shi'ar hero or whatever.
Like you're like willing the the thing's slaying to happen.
Yes, correct. If you believe you can kill these things, you can. Right? And in the story, the giants are just like routing these ghosts. They're just smashing them time and time again because they're not scary to them. They're like, oh, these little tiny
wispy
ethereal things are no different to them than tiny solid things, right? Like they're just tiny things.
Yeah, it's like attacking the ocean. Like the waves, the swarm just parts before you. Yeah.
And so until Lady Oleander shows up, like gets so enraged with this that her forces are getting decimated.
Yeah.
That she shows up and terrifies one of the Mega Gargants to death, basically, like stares it down.
Yeah.
Okay. And once that stomp loses and has the fear put in them that they can be beaten.
Yeah.
Okay. Then it spreads like wildfire through all the other stomps. Right.
Yeah.
And they aren't as successful against Nighthaunt until they regain their confidence. There's a fighting montage basically, and then they regain their confidence. But anyways.
So that's how Nighthaunt works too. Because if you didn't know, like you just have to believe in your dice. If you believe in your dice, you'll roll your ethereal save.
Right.
Like that's how it works.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just science, folks.
There we go. So I thought playing on that confidence would be fun. Like they're sure they're going to win because they're giants. They believe they're better than everybody else or whatever.
Right.
You know?
Right.
That they're the alpha predator. So Sons of Behemat may always use their selected triumph regardless of the points differential of the armies. If additional triumphs are selected as enhancement, they must be lower points to use them as normal. So basically, when you pick your triumph, you always get to use your triumph.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's neat.
Yeah, I just thought it was a fun little thing, right, to represent their sort of confidence in their abilities. And then finally, a new heroic action. A hero may use this heroic action instead of any other. Blah blah blah. Like all normal heroic actions. It's basically choose a single unit of Man Crusher Gargants within some range. I'm not sure what that range would be, but some range, right? They may retreat and charge until the end of this turn.
Yeah. I mean, so I see this heroic action, and that's nice. That's fine. I'm gonna take the mic from me for a moment, though.
Go for it.
I actually am of the mindset, and you might hate this, is that I think that they should always be able to retreat.
This is for the babies. Well, to the big ones, I rewrote them so they can. The little ones can't, though, because I think that makes sense. This is just the little ones.
That's fair. Okay.
Yes.
Just as I say, they should just be able to walk away from non-big things.
Which is how I rewrote that ability to work. Yes, we'll get there. But yes, correct. Because you're absolutely right. They should act like Imperial Knights and just leave.
Yes.
Because what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Right?
Walk away.
So this allows you to apply a little bit of that ability to your man crushers to get them out of a fight they don't want to be in, right? In a similar fashion. Effectively, like, I picture it as the Mega Gargant, like, bellowing at the unit and throwing them off for a second so that the man crushers can walk away and go fight something else, right? Something like that.
Yep.
And so, yeah, this is giving a little bit more maneuverability, interest to the army to let them kind of be a little more responsive rather than just like, I walk forward, I fight. I stand.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So those are your new allegiance abilities. There we go. In my estimation, those seem better. Are they the best possible version of this? No. I'm sure that I could do better if you gave me more weeks, and Tom and I put our heads together for that time, and Tyler and other big Sons of Behemat players. But I feel like this is definitely this would produce an interesting selection of options.
Sure.
Okay. And we can already see how I'm trying to open up new places.
It's a nice toolbox.
Yeah. Absolutely. But not too synergistic.
No.
Right?
No.
Yes. No. Okay. Yes, it's a heroic action you use. That's correct. All right. So here we go. Subfactions. Guess what? I'm completely destroying. I am demolishing, like a Gargant smashing a building. I am demolishing the entire way that the current book is built. I hate it. It's stupid. I'm throwing it in the trash. All right. No more like if you're Stompa is a general, you're in Stompa tribe, and we need 3 different lists of command traits and 3 different lists of items and different abilities and wacky stuff. The War Stomper with 6 useless, stupid command abilities. And no. No Taker tribe suddenly counting as 30. All of that. No silly, fierce loathings. All of that's in the bin. Just throw it in the sun, into the sea with you. Okay, it's all gone. The Harrower, a hero, uses it, so the babies can't be heroes. Sure. So it would be one of the megas commanding them. So instead, we're just going to do subfactions, folks. This is a perfectly fine technology. There's no reason not to use it. It works. Let's just do this. We've got 3.0 subfactions. Let's just put them to work. Okay? It's more fun. Because then we can actually have cool stomps. By the way, the name of these subfactions is not stomps. The name of these subfactions are what everybody else calls them. Okay? Which is catastrophes. In the lore, that's what you call a gathering of Gargants. The stomp is what they call themselves because they're too stupid to pronounce multisyllabic words. Get out of here with that. It's ridiculous. Catastrophes. Now we're talking. Which catastrophe are you playing? Sounds amazing. All right. So, Thondia's Terror. I figured there's a lot of Mega Gargants hanging out in Thondia. It's one of the places they do in Gur. Let's just use some of the lore here. This is your monster killer one, because that's what Thondia is all about, right? So, Mega Gargants gain +1 to wound versus enemy monsters and are immune to monstrous rampages. Thoughts, nice. Tom? Simple.
Right? Yeah, it's simple and straightforward, which is exactly what a subfaction should be.
Right. Now, this is... what I like about this is it's not always immediately putting you... Like, some of the wounds for Mega Gargants especially are already on 2s. So it's just acting as a penalty to wound... Or, sorry, sure. a counter to
buffer.
Wound penalties.
Yeah.
Yep,
yeah.
A buffer. Sometimes it is making a difference. This one is the only one that's sort of only Mega Gargant incentive, right?
Yep.
Because I feel like that should still be a way to play. It just needs to be like not the way to play. Okay. Yep. We want incentives the other direction. So that's that one. Kill fun monsters. Cool stuff.
Yep.
Death Eaters. This comes out of the lore as well. There's a really fun story about Gargants who live in Shaiish, and I just really liked it, and the image of them, like they're surrounded by spooky ghosts and stuff.
Yep, and eating corpses.
Yeah, sure. So whenever a Death Eater unit destroys an enemy unit, they may heal D3 wounds. If the
Yep.
enemy unit destroyed was a monster or had 10 or more models, instead heal D3 plus 2 wounds. Again, you got to get in the fight, right? Stacks
Yep.
well onto the basic how you actually take control of objectives, encourages you to keep fighting, gives you a little bit of healing. There you go.
Sky Titans, huh?
Sky Titans. Yeah, calling back to old Warhammer Fantasy days. I assume these are the smart ones. Because the cannon that the ogres drive around, they stole that technology from, because ogres are apparently far too dumb to make a cannon, like it's the most complicated technology in the world. They stole all that from Sky Titans, because apparently, I don't know what this weird human supremacy is, that as soon as you get taller than 6 feet, you become a moron.
Yep.
But here we are. Anyways, increase the range of all missile weapons used by Sky Titan Gargants, so megas and babies, by 6 inches. In addition, all such models gain +1 to hit with missile weapons. So let's say you want to go with a little bit more of a ranged play. You're still not a shooting army. Let's not be crazy here, but it
Sure.
opens the door to have a little bit more action on your ranged play. Cool. Thoughts?
I mean, this is obviously fully dependent upon how you would change the profiles.
Well, we'll see. I did.
Yep. I know you did. Yep.
Okay. And then finally, Madrog's Mob, which might be an existing character name or not. I just made it up, but I think it might be a person that exists. I don't know. GW names are hard. Name it something else. Doesn't matter. I wanted this to be about babies. This is your baby faction.
Yep.
So, friendly Man Crusher Gargant units always count as being within 12 inches of a Mega Gargant for the purposes of Keep Up. That's the thing that lets them run in charge.
Yep.
As long as at least one Mega Gargant is alive on the battlefield. Okay. So, as long as you got one, so this is the army where it's the more Man Crusher focused one. As long as one Mega's alive, all your little babies can run in charge. In addition, Man Crusher Gargants gain +1 to attack, +1 attack, that should say not to attack, +1 attack, with the Edbutt and Mighty Kick attacks, which are the things they currently only have one of.
Yeah.
Right? So it gives them 2 attacks, which is still not incredible, but it's something, on their neat higher rend, higher damage attacks, right? Because the clubs are normally just a bunch of swings for 1 damage. So, and there you go. Those are my 4 things. A mega incentived one, a baby incentived one, a momentum one, and a ranged one. Playstyles.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say.
I mean, that's pretty good for, the range we have.
Mm-hmm. And this is my point. You can actually develop different incentives and playstyles even with only 4 models. Right? This isn't rocket science. Okay. Again, are these perfect? No. Of course not. They would need development work and all of that. But do they seem more interesting? I think so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're developing your type of army then. Not just because my general happens to be this thing. This is apparently how I play now. And it's derivative at best.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Cool. You ready for some command traits, Tom? You excited about command traits?
Always.
Okay. 1 list, Tom. We have 1 list. Okay? That's it.
Keep it tight.
1 list. 1 list of 6 command traits. 1 list of 6 artifacts. So, let's talk about those. Monstrously tough, we'll keep it. I don't hate it. It's fun. It's the +5 wounds thing.
Sure.
Cute. It's fine. In any other book, it'd be amazing. In Giants, you're like, okay, it's fine.
It does what it says on the tin.
Right. Tower of Intimidation is a slightly altered version of one that exists, but effectively, enemy units that are within 3 inches are -1 to hit in melee.
Sure.
I mean, if we can give stupid mount traits out that are -1 to hit on a mount, I feel like we can do this as a general command trait. Even since it's didn't Nighthawk get a -1 to wound to units when they're within 3 inches, I believe?
They have an item, and they have an item that does that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then one of the units does a base. Yeah.
Yeah, the Executioner.
Yeah.
Spoilers, putting it on a hero or on an artifact is better than being on a command trait.
Yeah, because in general, you don't want your general having to stand there.
Right. Eager for the fight is another one that I borrowed from the existing book. Charge 3d6 inches and declare charges within 18 inches. This is a War Stompa command trait. People probably don't know that because whoever plays War Stompa other than me. But I think that's awesome. I love the idea of being able to have a fast giant. Fun stuff. Okay. So, yes, that is correct. Andrew. Johnny is somebody who wants to express something, namely often their intelligence, or who likes lists and combos and stuff like that. Timmy wants to experience something and usually likes like big monsters and big experiences and big dice. Johnny wants to express something, intelligence or cleverness or a cool list or an unusual, making an unusual unit good. And Spike wants to win. That is a bit unfair to Spike, but that's the simplest way to say it. Okay. All right. Number 4, Civilization's End. When attacking a unit that is garrisoned, this general gains +1 to damage and may ignore the -1 to hit. In addition, garrisoned models attacked do not gain the benefit of cover. Also, you may re-roll the dice for the Smash to Rubble Monstrous Rampage.
I love this one. I just love it. Like, when I conceptually think about what's happening here, it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the flavor and what is in the verisimilitude of what's being expressed, like, this one by far is my favorite.
Good, I'm glad. That's awesome to hear. Yeah, I had to layer on the stuff to make it worth it, right? Yeah. Because people can just not garrison.
Right.
Right. And so, like, you want to make it bad enough that you strip that ability away from them.
Right.
So, like, KO in their boats just won't want to get in their boats because the boat offers no protection anymore, right? And in fact, is worse. It's just flat worse.
Right. Because when a giant club hits a boat, the boat crumples.
Right. So yeah, that's what that one's doing. Wall of Flesh. This model counts as obscuring terrain, but any line drawn through the model when determining the line of sight only needs to pass across the base instead of through 3 inches of the base. Effectively, what your general blocks line of sight. He's just a big giant thing. So other things can stand behind him, and he blocks line of sight. I just thought it was a neat concept. Like, of course he would. He's a giant. Like, how are you shooting a thing on the other side of him? He's huge. Right? So I just thought that one was fun. And then Big Bellower. This general is immune to the Roar Monstrous Rampage and may issue a command once per battle round without a command point being spent. So. Easy. Simple.
Yep.
Cool. There you go. One of the things I thought, this will let me open up a slight conversation about something that I kind of am exploring a little bit in here, is since I can't synergistically buff them, because they'll get too strong, like, instantaneously if they get more buffs beyond sort of what the basic things on offer are in the game. So those are very limited and controlled, right? Like, you could pop your Triumph, you can all-out attack, like that standard stuff. But there's not a lot of generic ways you're getting big buffs here. And so I thought the more interesting way to explore was having resistance, was opening up the door for resistance to other people's debuffs.
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Where
that's good design space.
Right. And it also makes sense. Like, they're so big, they're so strong, they're so tough. The normal things that would give, like, -1 to hit and wound or something, or slow their movement, it's just not going to work against these guys, right? Like, there's not enough there. There's not enough magic to make that happen to something of this size, right? That was the general concept. And I'm exploring that a little here, like becoming immune to Roar, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So 2 items I kept, the Kraken Eater Sandals and the Club of the First Oak, so that everybody remembers the Kraken Eater Sandals are the things that make your, like, stompy stomps on the Kraken Eater pretty good, because they go to, like, Rend 3 and Damage 3 and stuff like that, so they're good. they're a perfectly fine, like, offensive weapon. They have a decent impact on a decent attack on that model. So I thought they're cool. And obviously they'd be Kraken Eater only. Club of the First Oak is the fun, wacky one, Tom, where, like, when you suffer your last wound, you can roll a die, and on a 4-up, you don't die. You stay at 1 wound. Super fun. It's a complete, like, it is a very Timmy artifact for the time you roll it. It's very not Spike, but you gotta have those fun artifacts in there, too.
Totally. Right? Yep.
The Excelsis, however you say it, Gate Flail. So this is the upgrade for the Gatebreaker. After the results of Be'lakor, where giants invaded and attacked Excelsis, I thought it'd be cool to have a magical artifact.
One of them got the gate.
One of them got the gate and tied it onto the end of a chain, right? And that's now his weapon. I just thought that was a cool idea. And because the walls of Excelsis had been warded, like, remember, against enemy magics, and that was part of Bellacor's whole plan, blah, 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 blah. Whatever. I thought it'd be neat if basically this model cannot suffer penalties to hit or wound, right? So that ward, that anti-magic ward is still there and now protecting the giant. I thought that was a neat sort of narrative hook to what happened in Be'lakor.
Yeah, I could see it.
Okay. All right. The Godslayer Shard. That just sounds like a super cool thing, I suppose. Choose a single weapon on this model's profile. Once per game at the start of the combat phase, you may activate this weapon. If you do so, that weapon has a rend of -5 for that combat phase. Let's just go all the way. Let's get nuts. Let's get super nuts. In addition, during that combat phase, any roll of 6 to wound deals a mortal wound in addition to normal damage. So, kind of like the same design space as the Destroyer.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Like, we kept making a fun once per game artifact when you want to have a big turn.
Yeah.
Okay. Siege Armor. This model is -1 to be hit by missile weapons. In addition, this model is immune to any ability that triggers on a 6 to hit from a missile weapon. So effectively, just like the armor that the IDK boss gets, right?
Yep.
That turns off things, but this is just for missile weapons. So you can't mortal wound them. Ironically, I'm pretty sure that Sentinels would still get around this. Since
Because they can trigger on 5.
Yeah, since they can trigger on 5s. Yep.
So that it just means that when they re-roll, they're fishing for 5s instead of 6s now.
Right, exactly. But it would stop, obviously, like, Salamander mortal wounds and what do I want to say? Long strikes and judicators and stuff like that, right? So cool. Seemed like a fun thing to put on one guy.
Yeah.
Also called Suck It, Cruel Boys, and Realm Lords. Yes, indeed. And then finally, Wind Boots. I needed another name, but I was like, whatever, they're Wind Boots. I couldn't think of another fun name. But this model gains +3 inches to its move characteristic. In addition, when this model runs, the minimum distance it runs is 4 inches. Cool.
Yeah, Wind Boots is a terrible name.
It is. I know.
It needs to be something like well, this is an artifact, not
Look, man, I think I came up with 3 pretty good names. I got to the 4th one and I was like, nah, I'm out. Clip's empty.
It should be something like no, because so my gut was to call back to. Do you remember how like giants used to keep herds of squigs?
Okay.
Like, do you remember
like
back
squig
in
leather
like
boots, squig bounce boots?
Yeah, or something, doing something tying to the like
Oh, nope. Michael Coe's got it. Sorry, he's got it. Michael. Quick Stompas. That's what it. There we go. There it is. We'll do the DRS. There it is. Nailed it, Michael. You got it. Thank you. Crowdsourced that one, but that one was good. Okay, fun. That one might need a little more. Like on development, you're probably like, it's not one that's quite as good as the rest of them, but it's okay.
Sure.
It's fun. I'm sensitive to how much we play with movement in this army. I want to have play with movement as a potential like path you can go down, but I don't want them to be just like zipping around the board. Part of their limitation again is that so there's like nothing in here that would make them fly. Never.
Sure.
Right? Like you don't.
Sure.
That's not appropriate. I also didn't carry over things like the little necklace, the little earring or whatever that makes you a wizard, because you can just take the arcane tome for that. There's no reason for that thing. We don't need multiple paths to wizardom, right? And you're already getting a priest, so there you go. Like I don't want them flying, so because it's like they already can step over most things.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, flying, like actually making them flying would just make them too powerful. Okay, but there's probably another little zhuzh we could give that, right? Like maybe it also lets you re-roll the damage if you use the stomp monstrous rampage or something like that. All right, we ready for Warscrolls?
Okay, I'm ready for this silliness.
These are pre-Tom development Warscrolls. Normally, when I design these things, Tom has to go back in and like do development to rein me in. But there's no reining me in today, baby.
What you may end up seeing is some of this development process on air as I engage his silliness. Okay.
And I welcome that. I welcome
Yeah.
that because this is meant to be a design draft. This isn't meant
Sure.
to be final, right? You
Yeah.
would never.
Yep.
You don't
Yep.
write a book in one shot. You go through a formal
Right.
process,
Yep.
right? And by the way,
Yeah.
audience, I certainly welcome any thoughts or feedback you have. There's been some great ideas so far in the chat, so awesome stuff.
Okay, let's do your development pass.
Here we go. Ba-boom. New model. New war scroll. That's right. King Gargant. Now we can call this whatever. I just gave him the generic name. I don't care. This is the generic version of the hero. Let me explain why I created this thing. One, because it should exist. Let's just start there. And two, because this army is lacking a level. Let me explain, Tom. In a normal army, you've got sort of like dum-dums. You've got elite dudes, of which like foot heroes are a part of, right? So just kind of your elite infantry and foot heroes, and your 5 to 6 wound elite or 3 to 7 wound sort of infantry mounted cav stuff, right? And then you've got big heroes, right? These are like your dudes on monsters or something like that, right?
Yep.
This army doesn't have that. It's only got 2 levels.
Yep.
All right. So, by the way, this guy would not have any ability to become battle line, like the other megas.
Sure.
Okay. So, at any rate, King Gargant. So, this dude, 35 wounds, 4 up save, 9 bravery. Let me talk about some generic things I did to the scroll. I upped the entire army's bravery 1 point. I hate that megas are bravery 7. It drives me completely insane. They're in the stories, they're supposed to be supremely confident of their abilities because they're these giant unstoppable monsters called catastrophes, and here they are basically with the same bravery as a human with a flag. Okay.
Yep.
Unacceptable. They should be bravery 8 base. The king is bravery 9. Okay. Cool.
Sure. Checks out.
I did not mess with any of their wounds or their armor save. Nobody in this army will ever have a 3-up save. We cannot let anybody in this army go to a 3-up save base as a characteristic. That would just be awful. Awful.
Yeah.
Awful to play against. I also moved them all to the 4-step wound chart as opposed to the 5-step chart. Let's talk about the generic abilities that are going to see repeated and that I did here before we get into this guy's specific stuff. Crushing Charge, I kept exactly the same. I think it's a perfectly fine rule. Longshanks, when this model makes a normal move, it can ignore models that do not have the monster keyword, even when within 3 inches of such models.
Yep.
Such a move does not count as a retreat. It cannot finish the move on top of another model or within 3 inches of an enemy model. They can just walk out of combat effectively like
Titans.
Like Titans or like the Riders of Ruin, the Blood Knight ability.
Sure.
Right? It's not a retreat, and so importantly, things that stop retreats don't shut this off.
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So if you don't allow retreats, the giant doesn't care. He can just walk away. Like, you're not stopping him from walking away, right?
Yep.
Just walk away. Okay. So that's how I changed that. But I also cut out the terrain ignoring thing.
Yeah.
And that was purposeful because I actually don't love the ability of them just like stepping over terrain that's on the board. It's weird and it causes a lot of problems into balancing the model and whatever. Part of the pushback I'm going to create with this army here is making them play the board. There are people who walk around on foot. Right? So if there's impassable, if there's big terrain, yeah, you got to go around it. That's part of the drawback to the army.
Yeah. And like from a verisimilitude standpoint, like when you watch movies, what gets the giant every time is running in the little corridor.
Right. Every time. Terrain is what stops
every time.
them.
Yeah, because like they like reach in, right? Like that's like aesthetically, like that's part of what dealing with giants is
right.
Using terrain to run away.
Yep. Every time. So yes, terrain will stop them. And it makes terrain impactful on the game. It makes it so they do have to pay attention to, you know, to alleys of availability and stuff like that. How do Gargants become playable with tables choked with tons of terrain? I'm not worried about that world, Elect Man. I've never seen such a table. Like, I would love to see the table that looks like that. But every tournament, even Steve's tables, which have tons of terrain.
ACO had some pretty full tables.
But what, 8-9 pieces? Probably.
Yeah, sure. 9 pieces per table. Yeah,
perfectly fine.
Yeah, and they were not small pieces. They were not small pieces either.
You can easily walk around there and still have fights, right? We just don't want to incentivize them to stop on terrain that's going to cause problems.
Like, there was a moment where I was pretty sure in order for the like Bone Tide Nexus to go down, like we just had to straight remove pieces because there was too much terrain on the table, which is a great feeling.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if it turned out to be some massive problem because there's like so much terrain that they can't even fight anyone, which I like, objectives shouldn't be on terrain in a standard map. Right. So they can always go on the objectives. So I'm not sure like where the concern is. Like, people fight over objectives which aren't on terrain, which is where the giant wants to go to fight you. So
yeah, seems
fine. Son of Behemat, I kept the same. It's just like, you know, they can't be slain outright. They just take D6 and stuff like that.
Yep.
I made a small change to Timber. I wanted to make it so when the giant falls, you just get to do the wounds. I wanted to do that, Tom. Okay.
Sure.
But I restrained myself. Okay.
Yep. Because you want to make it fun.
And instead, the controller of the slain model wins ties.
Sure. That makes sense.
Because currently, right now, if you tie, you didn't win, so you don't get to decide.
Yeah.
Which is awful and dumb. Because the odds are actually against you to get to decide where your stupid giant falls.
It's your model. You should get to decide.
Right. The odds should at least be in your favor to have fun with your toys. Okay.
Right.
All right. So those are the generic changes I made across the army.
Yep.
Okay. All right. His specific rules is biggest boss, friendly man crusher gargants, whatever.
Yep.
Within 12 inches of this model have a bravery characteristic of 9. Such a minor thing, but I'm doing it for a reason. I'm doing it so the pack of 3 no longer has, if they're near him, they don't actually flee from battle shock. Yes, which can actually happen right now.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Or at least under normal circumstances, assuming no massive bravery penalties. Right.
Yep. Makes sense.
Because they're around the king, so of course they're not going to run.
Yep.
I don't love the idea of giants running due to battle shock ever, but this at least minimizes that. And then catastrophe walking. This model may never have its move characteristic reduced by any command ability, spell, prayer, endless spell, invocation, or similar ability. He gets to go where he wants.
Yeah, I would just change that to effect, but I understand that.
Sure, that's fine. It's similar
like ability effect. Or
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because what they're gonna, I mean, so either you say ability, like it's just weirdly redundant, but I understand what you're getting at here. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to say, like, none of it. Stop it. He gets to move his move. Right? Because, again, he's the king.
How about you just say, may never have the move characteristic reduced?
Yeah, sure. That would be probably the easiest way to go about it, yeah. Because there is. I did think of a reason why that would become extremely problematic. Oh, the wound table.
Well, sure.
Then I would need to write the exception then that like, as per the wound characteristic on the wound table may never be reduced.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, yes, you're right. That's the better way to write that. And then finally, this guy has a command ability, the one command ability in the army, because that's what we do now. We write one command ability, right? You get an army, you get one command ability. Great. Here we go. Rampage.
Right.
You may use this command ability at the end of the charge phase. All Gargant models on the battlefield that have successfully completed a charge this turn may utilize any monstrous rampage, even if another model has already used that monstrous rampage. This does not allow one model to complete a monstrous rampage more than once. So everybody who charged, you had to have completed the charge, right? You can't just be in combat doing it. You can stomp, you can roar, you can smash to rubble, you can Titanic duel.
Knowing the rest of your design, seeing this one, I think there's a missed opportunity. Somebody made a comment in the comments, 10, 15 minutes ago, and I want to kind of tease that out.
Sure.
I think there's a missed opportunity here. What I would have done differently is I would love to see each war scroll have a unique monstrous action.
Okay.
So that each of these war scrolls kind of bring their own flavor in the monstrous action phase. Like they can do the other things, right?
Sure.
But it would be awesome if they could also do their own special, like maybe that's one way that you tease out the flavor. And so a great for the King Gargant would be like his what's the ability? His roar,
sure,
right, affects an area, like booming voice or something like that, right?
Oh, sure, yeah.
So when he roars, he shuts off the ability for units within 9 to use a command ability or something.
Sure,
like that.
He can affect multiple units with roar or something.
Yeah,
you could just do it like every unit within 3 of him instead of just
because
one.
Sure. And so the whole point being that like he is your commander, right? And so he's so talking about rather than doing synergy, what you're doing is you're flipping it on its head and you're reducing synergy from enemies.
I like that. It's a good idea, Tom.
So
that's a really good idea. Okay, cool. I dig that. Brian S. said, and he should be called the Imperator Titan because it'd be funny. That is very funny. Electman said 2 questions. First, how many points is him? I don't know. Around 500 is the answer. Probably on the upper side, of the whole thing. Again, everybody's around 500.
515.
Everybody's around 500. You get 4 units. That's what it comes down to. Everybody's just around 500 points, right?
Yep.
So, he's something like that. He has a good ranged attack, decent enough at least. 4 attacks, 3s, neg 2, 3 damage.
Sure.
Fun ranged attack. It's fine.
Yep.
And then he has his stomp. He has his death grip. A quality of life change I made here in general, and this is across all the giants. And yes, he's not battle line. All the other megas would retain their battle line, but he would not have that. He would just be leader behemoth.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Almighty Stomp is now just flat 2 damage, not D3. And Death Grip is D3 plus 3, not D6. These are just quality of life changes to flatten out the damage on this stuff.
Yeah, I think you have him currently at just a D3 rather than D3 plus 3.
I think you're looking at the first version. I updated it because the War Scroll Builder doesn't let you do plus number in it. I typed that in the little boxes. And then when it generated the scroll, it wouldn't let me do it. So I had to put it on in. I realized after that it didn't copy it over. And so I had to go back in with PowerPoint and make tiny little plus 3s or plus 1s or whatever.
Ridiculous.
And then he has a giant sword that's 6 attacks, 3s, 2s, neg 3, 4. If that sounds familiar to you, it's Kragnos' big attack.
Yep.
It's the exact same stats. His average damage is pretty high. It's not nothing.
It should be.
Okay. Yeah. This is the... how would he fit into the mercenary rules? He wouldn't. This guy doesn't mercenary. He's the king of Gargants. The king is not a mercenary. He does not go out and merc. That's for the other guys.
Right.
But like I said, we could literally take those mercenary rules and jettison them into the sun for all I care. Like those mercenary rules are an attempt to sell more giant kits to other people because they weren't sure this army would have legs.
Yep.
That's what those were. Okay. So that's that guy. All right. Next up, Kraken Eater. All right, here's where we come to the next quality of life change. So as I mentioned, they're all Bravery 8. Other than that, the sort of base stats are the same. They all have the same move. Tom, did you know the Mega Gargants have different move speeds for no reasons?
I do actually know that.
It's just like completely insane to me that I have to like remember which one's 12, which one's 11, and which one's 10. It's the stupidest thing.
Funny story
because they all have the exact same legs.
In Nighthaunt, there are 3 different units riding ghost horses, and all of them have different moves.
Sure.
Well, no. We went from 10, so we have 12 and 14. So we have 12s and 14s because of reasons.
Okay. Well, the hero can move faster than the unit. I'll buy that, right? Because
when
you got a unit...
No. It's the difference between one hero and another hero.
Oh, okay. Got it. All right.
No, it's really that bad. Yeah.
Thank you, Coach. Coach says yes, and I hate it. Why does it exist? Coach, I don't know. I don't know, Coach. It's stupid. So I fixed it. Everybody now moves 12, 11, 10, 8. There you go. Done. Done and dusted. That's the move. In the standards of modern AOS, that's not even that fast. Okay? It's fine. It's fine. Okay. Here's the next thing I did. The next thing I did, other than all these guys have, again, the same changes cascading through with, like, Longshanks and Timber and all that, is you now have 2 attack profiles with your main weapon. This, again, is not hidden technology. I did not come up with this. This originally existed in...
Other units do this, yes.
Well, Tom, the 4th edition Empire book for Warhammer Fantasy Battles, in which you could find the rules for Sigmar to actually play him as a character on the table. And I did. I ran Sigmar every game.
Of course you did.
Of course I did. He had an option. He could either, like, make a bunch of attacks with his giant club, or he could do a single big smash that was, like, strength 10 and did multi-damage. Right?
Yep.
So guess what? I went ahead and went back to the deep recesses of 4th edition. Or also, by the way, like almost every 40k melee weapon has this kind of an option for these big monsters or big robots and stuff like that. Or as you mentioned, yes, plenty of like Blade Lords have this. You know, this, again, this isn't me radically inventing new technology. You can either smash or sweep. Everybody has either a smash or a sweep. Cool. Okay.
Yep.
So, when you smash, you get much less attacks. So 4 attacks, 3s, 2s, neg 3, 4 damage. Yep. Or you can sweep, where you get 10 attacks at 3s, 3s, neg 2, 2 damage.
Yep. So it's either power attack or cleave.
Right. Exactly. Correct. And I did run the damage calcs, by the way, on all of these as I was writing them to see how they would sort of stack and compare. And the numbers feel big. The average damage for most of these, it varies. Like, obviously, the higher Renduin with less attacks, the way it averages out is better against lower damage stuff, or sorry, lower save stuff. Right, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Of course. Whereas the sweep is better does more damage against higher base armor. I don't know, whatever. 4s, 5s, 6s as opposed to 3s and 2s. Save characteristics, right? And whenever you attack, you choose one of the 2 profiles to attack.
Yep.
Ta-da!
Checks out.
Like, there it is. Real tough there. Real tough.
Yep.
Okay. I also changed Get Orph Me Land on his. In the enemy hero phase, you may select a single unit that does not have the monster keyword that is within 3 inches of this model. That unit must retreat, if possible, in the following movement phase.
In its next movement phase. Yeah,
in its next movement phase, yes. Sorry. Yes, yes. Again, I didn't write all these in perfect rules language, but yes, you're right.
Yep.
In its next movement phase would be more proper. It actually isn't super great, but it's tactically interesting. If you need somebody to retreat, you can force them to retreat, that kind of thing. So,
Nighthunt's like, cool story, man.
Right, yeah, exactly. Like, a lot of people want to end up retreating anyways, but it's a thing you can do. Right? So, and it doesn't have, like, honestly, I wanted to get rid of the objective kicking. I'm sure there's going to be people who hate me for that, but I like weird, individualistic, unique rules, and it's fine. The objective kicking in the end isn't the end of the world. It's just weird. I don't know what is being kicked there. I don't know why any other monster in the game can't pick up the thing and fly away with it or whatever. I don't know why this one giant has some weird ability to interact with the imaginary thing that we're fighting over. Okay? And and it just creates so many rules problems when you write battle plans, because then you have to account for, like, well, what if this thing moves, and what if I want to do this, and, like, it just creates a cascade.
It's like, so in the vice, something that's being kicked, where is that being moved exactly?
Right.
When it moves the next time. Yeah.
It's annoying to, like, it confuses people. It's annoying to measure. It causes, like, challenges to battle plan design. It's honestly a third rail. We shouldn't be moving objectives around like that.
Yeah, correct.
Unless the battles plan specifically says to do so, in which case it's going to give you an exact measurement on the board of where it then goes.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So, yeah. Then we don't have to worry about, like, oh, accidentally an objective was worth 2 points and now it's worth 4 points. Is that how it works? You know, just because of random kicking and just nonsense. And I agree, Electman, you could totally, like, in Tom's idea, you could totally rework that into an interesting monstrous rampage or something, right? If we went that way. Yep. Oh, small other change on him. Stuff him in me net went from D3 enemy models to just 3. It's just 3. You already got to roll a die and get double their wound characteristic. How about we just give them 3 models? Why am I rolling dice to roll dice? Let's just cut that kind of crap.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. War Stomper. Something that people normally don't play. I do, because I love him. But anyways, here we are again. So the War Stomper is the only one that doesn't have a ranged attack still. I preserved that because I thought that was an interesting piece of design to have one without a ranged attack.
Yep.
And what we added to, his Titanic Boulder Club has 2 different settings, but his is much better against the big hordes. So you can make 3 attacks at 3s, 2s, neg 3, 5 damage, or 12 attacks at 3s, 3s, neg 1, 2 damage. Right?
Yeah.
So he's, like, clearly your guy meant for sweeping away low armor hordes.
Yep.
Right. He still has hurled body, that whole thing, but I made it easier. Once you effectively kill the thing, like once you've slain the model, no more 4 up to throw it and deal the mortal wounds. 2 up.
Sure.
2 up.
Sure.
We already passed the hard gate. Let's not then put another 50-50 gate in there. If I'm going to roll dice to roll dice, let's at least make it, more likely. Okay?
Yep.
And then he's a stomping specialist, as you might imagine, because it says War Stomper right there. If this model uses the Stomp Monstrous Rampage, it deals D3 plus 2 mortal wounds instead of D3.
It should be a D3 plus 3, but yeah.
I tried to restrain myself, Tom, because I knew I wouldn't have one of your development passes.
Yeah. D3 plus 3.
Cool.
That's
Let's make him more
right.
stompy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. Like, he's the good stomper guy. No range attack, wants to be in melee, wants to be sweeping up hordes, wants to be stomping on them. And then hurling their bodies back into them.
Fun. Magma Droths get away with the same thing. Of D3 plus 3.
Mm-hmm. Good call. So yeah, that's him. They all. Oh, by the way, another thing that's odd that I also changed that I should talk about for, like, quality of life stuff. Right now, the giants, for some reason, have different numbers of stomps. They all have 2 feet.
Some move those feet better than others.
Yes. So I just gave them all the same number of stomps, and it's all on the same wound chart, and it all goes down the same.
Yep. Weird.
Okay. Again, just like trying to make it easier to play, like user friendliness.
Yes. Yep.
Gatebreaker. Okay. This is still your damage guy. So the Gatebreaker is, because he's your damage guy, he doesn't have really much else in the way of special abilities. He still can hurl the big boulder for 4 damage, because I think it's super fun.
Yep.
And like, it's fun to throw that 4 damage rock. Any single ranged attack is basically worthless, but it's still fun to throw a single giant 4 damage rock. It's neat.
I would up that to 5 damage.
Well, I don't want to. That was intentional. I thought about it.
What? Okay.
I didn't do it because I don't want you to be able to whack 5 wound heroes in one hit.
See, that's exactly where I disagree, because I want this guy to ace a 5 wound hero. I want to be like, that guy.
I get it. I just think people would feel bad about it. It's kind of like, it just feels bad to me when it's like 1 range attack, I hit, I wound, you fail your save, he's dead. Like, yeah. On a hero, I don't tend to love that experience on my side.
There's an Amulet of Destiny if you want to prevent it.
Sure. I mean,
you get 5 dice. Yeah.
Sure. People didn't love the catapult when it came out and did that.
I understand. I mean, I do. I'm just saying, like, because it sets him apart from the other guys. Because, I mean, but like Kraken Eater can basically do that with his 3 attacks. Or
sure, it could happen.
King Gargant could. And in fact, sure. So, like, I don't know.
But when it's multiple attacks, you feel like you're rolling multiple saves, blah, 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 blah. None of them have the rend he does either. So.
Sure. Well, it's probably going to be at -1 to hit. So.
Sure. No, yep, that's all true. I could see it going either way. I kept it at 4. See, I feel like I was trying to be responsible here. Okay.
Oh, no. I mean, again, like, this is a Timmy army, man. You got to feel it. You got to feel it in your Giblies.
I feel it. I upped their melee damage.
I know you did.
Which is where you want them to ostensibly be mostly. Like, I put in the ranged thing. Keep in mind, you do have the ranged option where you can, be throwing these rocks a pretty good distance and getting +1 to hit and stuff like that. So there's play there, right?
Yep.
Counter out that lookout, sir, if you're in Sky Titans.
Yep.
So, okay.
Oh, I'm aware.
This guy's got the big attacks. So 4 Crusher Flail, 3 attacks, 3s, 2s, neg 3, 6 damage.
Yep.
It's just like big spiky damage, but very spiky. Or the Sweep, which is 12 attacks, 4s, 3s, neg 2, d3 +1. There you go.
Sure.
And he has Rubble Maker. When this model utilizes the Smash to Rubble Monstrous Rampage, they may reroll the dice to determine if the terrain feature is demolished. Yep. So I guess I was kind of playing with the Monstrous Rampages.
You were. It's funny. It's I would love to see at least 1 or 2 unique ones, but I think that there's gas here in the way that you've kind of teased. You've incentivized each War Scroll to want to do something different with their Monstrous Rampages.
Yep. Okay. And that's basically his only special ability, because he's just a damage machine.
Sure.
Right. Like, that's what he's there for.
Yep.
Man Crusher Gargants. As current plus rock throwing all the time. I didn't even bother rewrite them. They're fine. Like, they die pretty easy because they're on a 5-up save. They're 36 wounds in a unit, but they're on a 5-up save. So it's not hard to chop them down. But they're also pretty damaging. Like, they can do, if they're unmolested, if they're able to charge into a unit, do like 3 times 2-up D3 mortals, and grab 3 people and stuff them in their bags, and then swing all their attacks. Like, they can do damage.
Yep.
So like, they're fine. It's just, the rock throwing is completely insane that I have to have like a guy around who can be like, hey, throw rocks. It's like, no, giants throw rocks. That's what giants do. There you go.
Yep.
It's just, that's it. That's literally the only change we need. They now have the rock throwing profile integrated into their profile as shooting. That's it. Yep. There you go. That's a good change as well, Coach. I'm going to go ahead and put that in. I like that. And 3-inch coherency. Boy, is that a quality of life change. Just because all giants are like this, like the model, their arms are way out. It's almost impossible to stack those guys next to each other. Yeah. Yep. Maybe 2-inch coherency. I don't know. Something. They don't need extra bravery on their scroll. That's why I put in the king, to give them the extra bravery for there. Like, if they're just running around alone, fine. They can sometimes be susceptible to battle shock. I'll accept it. But if you take the king, they don't. They go bravery 9 and good stuff. So, there we go. Easy. Easy living. Tom, I've saved a fun thing for last.
Yep.
Okay?
I already hate
Boom.
it, but go ahead.
Named king. If we're going to have this new King Gargant, we got to have a named one. We got to have a unique character. Every other army gets unique characters.
I disagree. I don't think it needs to be a king.
That's fine. What is it?
I think it needs to be a named priest.
Oh, okay. A named priest?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Chat, let's leave it up to the chat. We're gonna all write this together, folks. Here's what we're doing. We're gonna do this last one together as a fun little exercise. So we can kind of, because I want to talk through how this is done.
Because, yeah, I think that there's a strong case for playing it, because we've already teased the priest in the Speaker of Bahamut, right?
Mm-hmm. King Brood is just a normal giant, so he's not big enough.
Yeah, so why not both? You can taco girl it, be a priest king.
Ooh, that's okay.
Yeah.
I see where we're going here. All right.
Yeah.
So are we taco girling this? Are we just making it both? Is that our first decision?
I don't see any reason why not to, because again, Speaker of Behemat is the what gives a model the priest keyword.
Sure.
And so you can play with the voice, the voice theme in the actual design of the War Scroll. Yeah, priest with totem. With the totem keyword. That I would definitely start there. And you can talk about there's so many different ways you go from a design standpoint.
All right, let's do this. Let's do it. Let's call it named priest king. Okay, we're gonna do that because we're gonna do this together. Here we go. Okay.
Yep.
Obviously, this is just gonna be scratch rules. Like I'm not writing these out.
Yep.
You know, I'm not gonna make a war scroll. Okay.
Sure. Yep.
Okay. So obviously, let's just get down the basics. He's unique.
Yep.
Okay. He is a priest totem.
Yep.
Right? And then all the other keywords as normal. Okay.
Yep.
Good. All right. Sean, there is a priest base. You get to nominate one mega who's not your general in the rewritten rules that I did to become a priest keyword. So this would be basically allowing you to lean into the priest theme in a bigger way. Okay.
Yep.
So let's talk about the basics. Do we need to change this guy's wheel at all? Off of is he still 35 wounds? Same move, same save.
Yep.
Same. Is he 8 or 9 bravery? Is he 9 like the king? Okay.
He's 9. He's 9. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
35 wounds, same move, 4+ save, and 9 bravery. Okay, cool. Got that. Oops, bravery. All right, got it. Cool. Let's do that. Let's talk about this guy's attacks. Let's get some simple stuff out of the way here. What's this guy look like in melee, roughly?
I
like this. So I like some of the things that are being bandied around. So we'll give him name. We have to come up with his cool name. Name. Let's call him First Son of Behemat. Cool. That's a cool title for him. Okay, keep going.
I mean, I agree that he should definitely. I think his attack profile should be worse than everybody else's.
That feels right. He should have a kind of the low end attack profile.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
Not terrible. It's just worse than the other giants because he's not.
Yeah.
He's not here because he's the fighter. He's here because of his voice. He's here because he's the speaker.
Right.
Okay.
So then, what does his quote unquote voice do? Is it associated with the Um, so it should induce terror. Like I think his booming voice should induce terror.
The king, let's assume OKSDM, I assume we're building this out of the normal kit, which I gave a sword. That's why I said I mostly stuck to the kits. I'm just assuming we're going to find a giant sword somewhere and stick it on this guy, basically. Like a Bloodthirster axe or something like that. So this dude would also have to be the same thing. He'd have like a cool sword or whatever, some weapon that's in this kit. I said I mostly stuck to the kits. I cheated a little.
Sure.
Okay, so keep going, Tom. I'm sorry. What are his abilities?
So I think that he should have... So we already have him as a totem. I think that he should... have we played with command abilities that affect enemy units yet in 3rd edition?
I feel like there's got to be something out there, but it's challenging because that... Like,
they're like of the receiving,
you're making them receive something. Yeah. And that's not good.
I think he should have a debuffing aura.
A debuffing aura, you said?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And within X range, maybe a variable. So here are some ideas. I'm going to pitch out some ideas.
Yeah, let's brainstorm a little. Here we go.
Chat,
pitch out some brainstorm ideas too. I see some good ones floating up here.
So what we could do in this booming voice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is you could do penalties, like obviously there's the standard stuff. You could do you could prevent the receiving of command abilities.
Sure.
You could prevent battle shock immunity as a whole.
Sure.
Right. You could reduce bravery in the aura as well. So there are a lot of different options that could work here. As Brian S. said, you could make this aura, by the way, contingent upon a successful prayer.
Sure. I was just going to go there. Right? Like, that's exactly what I was thinking. Don't have this aura on all the time. Sure. If he successfully prays, then until your next hero phase, like something like let's say
Echoes of Behemat.
Ooh, there you go.
because he's after praying the echoes that thunder or thunderous echoes of Behemat or something like that, right?
Yep.
It reverberates, and it has a supplemental effect beyond the prayer.
What's that? Whatever the wording is on the charnel, I would use the wording that's on the charnel throne, since we put this contingent on a prayer. So like units cannot benefit from anything that ignores battle shock or whatever. You know, whatever again, I'm not trying to write proper rules language.
Yep.
Within like 12 inches, something like that feels reasonable.
Yep.
Yeah, so he can pitch out that charnel throne thing. If he successfully prays, that aura turns on as his booming voice echoes.
Now, does he have a unique prayer?
I think so. I think he should. I think this should be actually the dude with the unique prayer. Because you're not going to ever have, like, this is your way to get it. You take this model. Right?
Right. So what does that prayer do?
It's a great question. Okay. Well, he's like the first son, the speaker. Oh, we should call this like first son, or daughter. Why not both? Sure, why not? Okay. Coach says, what about the Johann kit? Why aren't we getting to use that as a war scroller ability? That's the real question. It's a great call, Coach. We can return to that. All right. So the prayer. What does his prayer do? So the normal way you often try to structure prayers, right, is as a synergistic bonus. You know, you think of like the prayers people like to use, catechism, murder, stuff like that. We don't want to do that, right? Because that goes against the whole synergy thing. Okay.
Yeah. So it needs to affect your enemy troops and hinder their capabilities.
Sure. Or it could protect you from negatives. That would be another way to go. Okay, where it's not a direct buff, it's a hedge against negatives. You understand what I'm saying? Like that could be the case as well, right?
I have one.
Okay, go for it. Pitch me your prayer. Just Brian S said a damage prayer, like just a straight up like he shouts and cracks the earth. Okay, cool. That's a cool idea.
What about a prayer that shuts off? Now, this is super gamey, and I need to think about what this is actually communicating.
Yeah, sure.
But that shuts off ward saves for enemy units within 9.
It's so funny because I was thinking kind of the same thing. I was going to make it bigger and say reduce all ward saves by 1, like the bonus to
I would
losing
say
it.
Nope, just penetrating whispers or something like that. And just enemies within 9 inches of the speaker cannot make ward saves.
It's cool. It is very gamey. I'm not sure what's happening there is my biggest problem. You know, I honestly don't.
Okay, what about like catastrophe realized?
Okay, here we go. All right, we're getting somewhere.
Yeah. Or catastrophe given voice or something like that, right? Where you're talking about just the raw power of Behemat realized, like it's breaking things around it.
Yeah. I'm liking where this is going. Okay.
Yeah.
So what if it was something like this? Okay.
Yeah.
So
because I don't want it to be something that he's good in every army.
I understand.
Right? Like to me, he needs to have a function. Like this guy is a meta response in list building. You put him in because something else needs to be countered.
Okay.
Yeah, he needs to not be your always go-to unit.
Well, we could go a couple different directions, right?
Yep.
Like his prayer could be something like if it was just a catastrophic prayer, okay, like catastrophe realized or something like that. It could be something on the order of like every unit within 12 inches roll a die on a something up, 4 up, 3 up, somewhere in that range. They take D3 mortal wounds. In addition, every terrain piece within that range is affected by the smash to rubble monstrous rampage roll as normal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So he just like in an aura bursts bones and crushes buildings, right? Like that would be the way to kind of do that.
Okay.
Right. So you just like area smash to rubble / cause a bunch of damage.
So that is one possibility. Mm-hmm. I like that. So, and maybe you do 2 prayers on the war scroll. Like you could, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because this is a name guide. The other one that I would do, like when I'm thinking about corner case things. So one is ignoring ward saves. Another interesting one is like power irresistible or something.
Okay.
And you make it so that the damage of megas within wholly within 12 inches of this guy can't be reduced in any way.
Say that one more time.
That the damage of megas wholly within X number of inches of this guy cannot be reduced.
Yes. Now we're getting somewhere.
Power irresistible. Yeah.
I like this. Right? Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah, King Brood, I believe, is dead, but he was just a normal named regular giant. He wasn't like a mega or broad, whatever, however you say his name. Okay, yep. Let's do 2 prayers here. I don't know if he'd actually have 2 prayers survive development, but let's do it. So let's call this catastrophes call.
Yep.
And let's call it all units within 12 inches Roll a dice, 3 plus D3 mortal wounds. In addition, all terrain within 12 inches smashed to rubble. Okay, cool. And then next prayer, I'll have to make this text smaller because we're going off the screen. Excuse me while we shrink some text here. There we go. Okay, prayer. So we'll call it like, yes, there we go. Prayer. Not the real name. Simply irresistible. Shout out to Manny in the chat there. But no, it would be called like, voice of myth or something like that, right? Harkening back to the fact that he's a one of these, like harkening back to just channeling the voice of these ancient god beasts, right? From the age of myth. And damage caused by, this would need to be worded properly, so like ward saves still work and stuff like that. But it's, yes, ward saves still work. We're just stopping things like the Night Cruciator or Coalesced ability or something like that. Like the damage value or whatever of attacks by Gargants wholly within
15 inches.
Sure, why not? 15 inches cannot be reduced. Cool.
And so that gets to your anti-debuffing.
Yep.
And then this then becomes a response to the meta. If some things are sure. So that like you include this guy if there's a need for him in the meta.
Oh, I have a fun addition to the other prayer. Okay. If the unit is on terrain that is smashed, I'm just whatever, destroyed, ruined, rubbleized, demolished. There's the word.
Yeah.
Demolished. They suffer mortal wound on a 2+. Right? Sure. Basically, like if they're amidst the falling rocks, they get wounded more easily.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Now this guy's doing some neat stuff, right? He's shutting down some battle shock. He wants to prayer. We could make these prayers like 1 on a 3, 1 on a 4, something like that, right? Whatever.
Yep.
So they're like the, so they're harder. They could both be on 3s. I don't know. Like 3 is a pretty high chance of spell failure, as a matter of fact. Like these could both have.
And you can't give him +1 or rerollable. So
correct.
Yep.
Correct, because he's unique, he can't take like High Priest or anything like that, so we don't have to worry about that nonsense. So these could both just be answer value 3. There you go. Cool.
Yeah. He's interesting. He's engaging. He has a purpose.
And he still does like all the base giant stuff. I'll write that up here just so we're clear, right?
Yeah.
It has like base mega abilities, so like sun, timber,
Yep.
Charge, all of that at all, right?
Yep.
Oh, interesting. This unit should have the War Master ability.
What is War Master actually doing? Let me ask that.
Making you a general if you're not a general.
Okay, so that just means that you have 18-inch command abilities, which you already have with Totem.
Right. Correct. Well, it also makes it so if you lose your other general, you still get a command point at the start of every turn, and you can now get additional command points on a 2-up. Like, it's not nothing.
Yeah.
I could see it. Big name special characters often have War Master.
Sure.
I mean, that is just true.
Yep.
So I'm just going to write War Master. Question mark?
Yeah, maybe. You'd have to test
Probably.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, so it's not really adding any to the range, but it is keeping your command point situation in better regards.
Totally.
Yeah. Cool. There you go. We wrote a new guy. This would be the special character version of this. Obviously, again, no ability to be battle line. Yes, he would of course be unique, all that kind of stuff. So can't take items or anything like that, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, cool. That seems like a fun giant. I don't think he needs a command ability, Brian S, because he's the priest. He's not the warrior guy who gets a command ability.
Right.
He's already a totem. He already has an 18-inch range for all the his abilities. So
Yep.
that's fine. The Harrower said we need to give him a pet, maybe a Gorgrunta. Sure. The kit will come with some fun thing that you put on the base that's his little pet. It doesn't actually attack, it just follows him around. Although you could give him a pet. That could actually be he could have a pet on the base that has an attack profile, and that's why that might be part of why his attacks worse, because like he doesn't do one of the other things. He instead swaps one of his other attacks for his pet attack. That could be just a fun thing. I'm gonna write pet. Way to weaken his attacks, lose death grip, because he's got his totem in his hand, right? So he's not like gripping people as much. He can still just stomp and swing his totem around.
Yep.
Lose death grip, gain weaker pet attacks. Yeah, that could be fun. Why not? Have a cool pet. That'd be fun. Let's have a cool pet on there. A yak is a great pet. I agree. I mean, I for one cannot wait to see our LRL yak overlords. But yes. There we go. It feels like a good named Priest King. And there we go. That's the book rewritten. To me, this feels like a much more engaging book. So chat, what I want to know is, did we get there? Okay. Is this going to be more fun to play against? They can't just stand around and count as a million people anymore. We've tackled that problem. They got to be out there. They got to be fighting, right? We didn't really like we got rid of some synergy, honestly, because some of the floating like plus ones and rerolls that are in the base book. Okay, but we have some constrained play styles that are interesting. Like you can lean a little bit into ranged, you can lean a little bit into movement, right? Or some movie-based tricks. Again, you're not Nighthaunt or Daughters of Cain, like retreating your whole army out and doing wacky stuff and 6-inch cheater pile-ins and whatever, right? That's not what's happening.
Right.
But there's some movement play there, right? We've added priests, so you actually have something to do in your hero phase. You can pray a little bit, but no prayer lore, so you're relying on sort of the basics and universals, which we've pushed a little more toward some soft incentives to use babies in more way. We have opened up an interesting like healing path as well, Tom, like like a healing path, because you could play like the Death Eaters or whatever, and then have somebody take the Arcane Tome and take Life Swarm or something, maybe, depending on how the points worked out, or if you took some of the cheaper giants, so you weren't right at 2,000, you could fit like a Life Swarm in or something. Since they did clarify that apparently you are allowed to do that, even though you shouldn't be allowed to do that, but apparently I can now, so that's cool. This feels like a good first draft to me. It obviously needs a full development pass. I'm positive there are things that could be better, that are wrong. But this just feels more engaging to me. Yeah. Right? Like, the giants have purpose. They play with the monstrous rampages in interesting ways. Like, the tools and tech that's already there in 3.0 for monsters to do, they do all that stuff better. Like, they can capture better as monsters if they're acting like monsters, being scary, not just standing around being a tower. Right? So, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So there you go. I hope everybody enjoyed this. I hope everybody thought this was lots of fun. I know this is a weird show to just sit here and rewrite a book in a way that will never get rewritten. And now, and probably this isn't how the, will I be disappointed by whenever the book comes out? Probably. But that's all right.
But it's
I'll
perfect
go to Tio
in our...
and ask to use my tome. Can I use my Sons of Behemat tome instead?
It's perfect in our heart.
There you go. All right, folks. There you go. That's Johan. All right, Tom. Coach is asking about Johan. Okay. Are we gonna find some way? Okay.
Go. I got it. Johan is a invocation.
Okay.
Because every army has a priest.
Yeah, sure. I'm with you. Or could.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah,
You theoretically could build one without. Like, that is to say,
Right.
if you took 1 mega and 9 babies, that's the only time you wouldn't have a priest. But yes.
Why? Because you get to choose.
Your 1 mega would be your general. He'd have to be. And the priest can't be your general.
Oh, your priest can't be a general. Okay, that's fair. So Johann becomes an actual invocation. So you base him on like a 50 mil round.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Yep.
And it generates because he's running like fleeing in fear from the giant. It creates a morale debuff around him, a bubble around him.
Yes. Okay. So you get an invocation called the Fear of Johann, right?
Yeah.
And
or spreading panic. No, spreading panic. Is what, yes.
Johann's spreading panic. There we go.
Yes.
And it runs out and causes a bravery.
Yeah, and so it's 50 points to include in your army. And it's an invocation that basically moves 6 inches at the end of each of your hero phases. And all units within 12 inches that do not have the Gargant keyword have -2 to bravery.
Love it. Love it. It's great.
Done.
Probably needs a little zhuzh, but there's Johann. I love it. That's great.
And he's not an endless spell because they don't have magic, so it has to be an invocation.
He's an invocation. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Johann runs away. Great. We did it all. There it is. All right, everybody. Hit like if you thought this was a fun time. Don't forget the next 3 weeks, tune in, and we will be doing all of the GHB battle tomes. It's going to be GHB next week, Skaven the week after that, Sylvaneth the week after that. 3 big weeks. Next week's show will be at noon Eastern. Set your clocks or times or reminders accordingly. Early show, I'm telling you now. So we will be doing it in the middle of the day in Europe-friendly times. Sorry, people in Australia, I apologize. I think that's when you're all asleep. But there we go. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. There is a Patreon down below focused on hobby review and feedback. You can always check that out if you want to take your next step on your hobby journey. The merch store is down there. Don't forget you can cast your vote by picking up Team Tyler or Team Tom merchandise to say which co-host you think is best. But as always, everyone, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. It was fun to indulge. I like writing books. I like writing rules. So this was a really fun little project. So thank you everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. As always,